All right, welcome in everybody, and welcome back to Sports Prophet TV. This is College Football Capital, your weekly, early Monday college football picks show on Sports Prophet TV. As always, I'm Sports Prophet, and with me is Clee Picks. How we doing, Clee?
Good, man. Interesting week 2. I feel like week 2 possibly one of the toughest of the season, Prof, and you can agree or disagree, just because there's such an adjustment from teams from week 1 to week 2. You get that initial, all right, here's how they are, and now here's how they adjust. And I think that sometimes makes handicapping a little bit difficult in week 2. Now you get a feel for what the teams really are after this past week. And I think, some results reflected that, and some teams made some good adjustments, some not so much. But yeah, I think it was a good week. College football, exciting games, even to the late hours. If you stayed up and watched that Oregon versus, Boise State game after the Nebraska, Colorado game, and we'll talk about that there in a second. Overall though, it was a fun week. We'll be back. We'll get back in the green though this week overall, and excited. Hey, the picks on the show, the picks of the week though, back still in the green, so that matters for us.
Yeah, not a crazy week, but back-to-back winning weeks. So on the official show picks, we're now 9-7 on those. So we'll go over those real quick. I didn't have time. I got to apologize. I went to the Nebraska-Colorado game, and my flight ended up getting delayed. So, basically I was running behind all day today, and just been, running around like a headless chicken. So trying to get everything done that needs to be done, including, family and job and, the service and everything, trying to get things done the right way. So I did not have time to do our recap graphics, but I will go over those real quick. And before we get into it, make sure you guys are liking the video. It does us a lot of good. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you'll never miss a show. Of course, this is not our only show. We have College Football Capital on Mondays. We have the very important NFL show every Tuesday with Sosa. And, of course, our flagship show of the channel, which is the MLS Live podcast every Wednesday. So, lots of content and lots of good stuff, lots of value. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. All right. So SMU BYU over was a loss. Pitt Cincy over was a loss. Texas plus Oklahoma State money line was a winner. Bowling Green plus 35 was an easy winner.
Great call there, buddy.
Well, I appreciate it. My only, kind of, I guess, regret there was that I had 35 on the show. By the time we were off the show, it was down to 34.5, and I said, it'll get back to 35. It didn't. So I wasn't able to send that out to my guys. But, if you watch the show, hopefully you got that in. Utah Baylor under 53 was a winner. Tulsa Arkansas State over was a loser, and Ohio State. Did you have the spread of the team total? I can't remember.
Team total.
Both of those were a winner. So
yes,
either way,
held them under 100 yards. So
that's looking pretty good over there.
And I think Jeremiah Smith's still running away from the defense of Western Michigan.
I think he is too. He needs to rest up, and he's going to have some real games pretty soon. So, anyways, show picks, another winning week on the show picks. We're going to get into it. Might as well jump into it, right? Well, let's do this real quick. Biggest takeaway from last week.
I got like 3.
Yeah, go for it.
Michigan is who I thought they were, and to quote Denny Green, not surprised by that result at all. I thought their defense was going to be a little bit better than what they showed. But, you lose, as I said, we talked about this week 1, you lose so much from the amount of players that went pro to coaching staff, etc. That's tough to replace. And then, when you're facing a top 5 team in the country like Texas, and I have them 3rd in my power rankings this week, I I just had my doubts about what was going to happen. And when you have a quarterbacks, quote, plural, that can't throw the ball, that's concerning. And it's going to be interesting to see how they, the joke going around the Ohio State Twitter sphere was, oh, incoming self-sanctioned bowl ban or something in T-minus like 4 weeks till that or something like that. But no, it was a lot to replace for them. And, I feel like that was just a really tough spot for Sharon and that team. And, Quinn Ewers looked really, really good. You could tell they're the more physical team, and, they were the faster team too, that the speed of Texas really showed out. The second point is Nebraska is for real, and Colorado hasn't changed one bit from a year ago. Two things can be true there. Raiola looked really good. It's scary to see what he's going to be in 2 years because he's already, he has the size. He's got to get a little bit of that baby fat off him, which he will. I'm not, concerned about that. Arm strength, etc. You can touch on that more because you were there. But my concern, as we talked about last week's show with Nebraska, or with Colorado, is not being able to block, and we saw that with the amount of pressure they got on Shedeur.
Yep.
The inability to run the football, and the only thing that was we were hesitant about even giving out the 7.5 or whatever it was, ended up closing with 6.5. Was the athletes that Colorado had, especially versus that Nebraska secondary, and it became a non-issue just because of the fact of Shedeur had zero time to throw. So props to the Colorado or the Nebraska Cornhuskers for that. And then my third point was Oregon's got to figure something out here before October 12th, especially defensively, because if Boise State can run up and down on them for 221 yards last week, what's going to happen on the 12th when you have, and I'm not saying that Trevion and Junkins are the cream of the crop, but they're very, very, that's the best running back room tandem in the country. We can agree on that. Versus, that Ohio State rush offense, which if you watch this last week's game, they're heavy into it already, and Chip's system is they're running Howard, they're running Junkins, they're running Trevion. Even James Peoples is, the true freshman. So Oregon's got to figure some things out quickly. I mean, they have a month still, but you not to spoil anything, this is going to be an interesting one this week for them. So, yeah, those are 3 points I'll make on this past week.
Yeah, just kind of a general reflection on the week from a betting standpoint. Personally, I actually had a couple of big swing and misses, which I obviously try not to make a habit of being way off on any of my handicaps. That's never the game plan, but it can happen from time to time. Man, I was dead wrong about Kentucky. I don't think they're a bad team. I just think that game snowballed. Everything that could have gone wrong did wrong, and they obviously weren't the team I necessarily thought they were. Also Auburn. I was very optimistic on Auburn this week, and I think that game probably might have more to do with obviously Auburn's been inconsistent under Hugh Freeze for a while now, but I think it also had a lot to do with Cal. Like Cal really came to play. They were physical. They believed that they could win that game from the opening whistle. So I more so feel like crediting Cal in that game than necessarily feeling like, oh, Auburn was just garbage. But I think Auburn, potentially could still have a decent year. Not like, a playoff caliber team, but I think they'll be okay. And then I want to say, you talked about the Oregon and the Boise game. I'm not so worried about Oregon, actually. I think Boise State is a juggernaut. I think they're awesome. I think that run game is a top 5 offensive line and running back in the country. The offense is obviously great, but and I know you talked about Ohio State having the best running back room in the country. Well, Boise State has the best single running back in the country. He's just he's a monster. So I think Oregon adjusts. They lost the turnover battle by 3 in that game. That's a big deal. That's potentially 3 scores in a game where that's about what the spread was. So I do think obviously Oregon has some issues, and like if Boise State is gashing you on the ground on your home field like that, it's a wake up call for sure. Oregon did lose a lot of talent on the defensive front, so that's an area of concern, no doubt. I just think it's one of those games like the Cal and the Auburn game. I'm looking at that game and I'm going, wow, Boise State's really good. And there are some very good group of 5 teams this year that I think are going to potentially make us a lot of money as the season goes on. The 3 on my list in order are UNLV, Boise, and Texas State. So I'm probably higher on UNLV than a lot of people, but they are my number 1 group of 5 team this season. So we'd love to see the Rebels in the playoff. I think they've got a real chance to represent the group of 5 this year.
I love what Coach Odom's doing over there. Honestly, it's resurrected that program. They got a big one this week, that's for sure. Also, I forgot to note, Iowa. My friends, Iowa, my Big Ten brethren, let me down. I mean, I that was one of my losses this week. Kind of, I was with you on Kentucky. That was just, I didn't expect that after what we saw a week ago from South Carolina. But yeah, Iowa just you can't have that, especially at home. And Notre Dame too. Good job there. Shout out Maps.
Yeah, I also want to say I overthought the Nebraska game. That's a game I should have played straight. I should have played 7 or better. Like I said, I was going to on the show. That's what I should have done. But I didn't. I overthought it, and I thought, 7, I could be backdoor. Nah, that game should have been 42-3. It ended 28-10.
And Coach Rule decided afterwards. He even said like, yeah, we went way too conservative in the second half.
Yeah, I heard some comments about that, but also the guy's job is to win the game, and so
that's what he said too. Yeah, my job is to win the game. Didn't like the way we coached the second half. We went too conservative. Happy we got the win. They have athletes. We have athletes.
Yeah, I'll say this, and then we'll move on to week 3, early picks, early Monday picks, and official show picks, early lean. Sorry. I've been to a lot of big time football games and played in some and been to a lot more. And that was the loudest stadium I've ever been in. And I've been in some big ones. So at the beginning of the game, I mean, when I say my whole head was buzzing, like I was standing in front of a big bass, like at a concert, that's what my head felt like. It was unreal. It was really fun. And I talked to some guys around me that were at the game, Nebraska guys. It was the first time in a long time that everybody stood from start to finish. So pretty exciting stuff. All right, we'll take it from the top, and we're going to keep moving today. We'll start with the Thursday games right off the bat. Arizona State and Texas State. And I just want to say, looking at these, I have sent a couple of plays out already. So I have a couple plays that are official plays that are definitely circled. I've already sent out a couple of them, but I'm a little bit further back in my weekly process than normal. So you're kind of getting a fresher take from me today, as far as like I haven't dug into every single game. I've dug into a lot of them, but not every single game. And this one that leads us off on Thursday is one that I want to have take a closer look at. Obviously, Arizona State has probably, if you asked me before the game, before the season, looking at this Arizona State and Texas State game, of course, this one's going to be in San Marcos, so Texas State home team. Before the season, potentially I've got Texas State as like a 4-point favorite. They opened here as a, I think a 2 point. Oh, okay. They actually opened as a 2.5 point favorite according to Odds Trader, and now they're a 1.5 point dog. So Arizona State taking some money. Arizona State 2-0 have looked better than people expected them to, obviously. And Texas State just played a game against UTSA in which the game was a pick 'em, and Texas State just beat the doors off of UTSA. And that's kind of how I thought Texas State was going to look this year. So GJ Kinney, obviously in year 2 now, and he's got his guys. They're arguably more talented than they were a year ago. You have any interest in this one?
Yeah, I want to see if Texas State continues to take money. Props for, credit where credit's due. Arizona State, surprisingly 2-0 on the year. Got off to a hot start last week against Mississippi State, and were able to hold on. I think people are seeing that result, and I think that's why they're taking money. But you're right, Texas State, from a group of 5 perspective, is right up there. You named off, those 3 teams earlier of Texas State, UNLV, and Boise. I don't argue that at all. So I want to see where this goes. If it continues to be Texas State or Arizona State taking money, we'll probably lean towards Texas State on Thursday night.
Yeah, that's where I lean. That's where I lean on this one. I definitely lean towards the home team here. I realize it's power 4 versus group of 5. I just, I'm not really a big fan of Leavitt, the quarterback there at Arizona State. I think he's maybe mediocre, maybe average at best. And Texas State, that just smells like a game that they've obviously had circled, right? Like Power 5 team rolling into town. You get them in your home stadium. It's going to be a sellout. And Texas State is not crazy far off as far as, they're probably right there with Arizona State as far as talent. Maybe not as much depth. Obviously, depth is a big difference when a Power 5 team plays even a good group, group of 5 school. So, but I would lean Texas State to probably win this game outright. And it sounds like, you're probably at least leaning that way. All right. Yeah, I'll make this one. I'll make this one Friday night. I'll give this one out.
We got 2 officials on Friday then.
Yeah, and I actually sent one out in the Arizona Kansas State game, but it's no longer playable.
Because I have an official plan that one. So go ahead with UNLV first, and then we'll talk about the other one next.
I hope you're going where I think you're going on the Arizona game. I think you could be. Yeah. So let me get my banner here. There we are. Official show pick, getting us started here. For week 3, I'm going with the Road Dogs here with UNLV. Obviously, you just probably heard me talk about how much I love this team, and that's the direction I'm going to go. Going with UNLV plus the 7.5. 7.5 is too much for me. That was a play for me at 7. So 7.5 at a minus 115 is definitely a go. Just again, unbelievably impressed. This UNLV team, talent-wise, they've been a Power 5 team talent-wise for 2 seasons now on offense. And they went and really drastically improved the weakness of their team, which was their defense and their defensive front and their pass rush. And again, the game against Houston in Houston was pure dominance. It was dominance. That game could have been 38-3, to be honest. And it was 27-10, I think. And probably, I mean, UNLV was like 2 of 5 in the red zone and like punted 2 more times from like the 35 and the 38 or something. So you give me 7.5. Look, I love Leipold. I love a lot of things about this Kansas program. But you give me a touchdown and a hook with a really, really good team that, just beat a Power 5 team like a drum on their home field. This game is not going to be on Kansas's campus. This is going to be at Children's Mercy, which is a soccer stadium. So this is not even an Arrowhead. So Kansas has got to go play in an MLS stadium and, they're not necessarily going to be any more comfortable than UNLV will be. And this game is, 100% priced like a home game, which I get. I mean, Kansas will have the majority of the fans, but yeah, give me UNLV plus a 7.5 for my first official show pick. Sluka is the real deal at quarterback for this team.
Yeah, what's crazy is, they lost their quarterback. We talked about this last week. They lost their quarterback to USC as he's the backup there, and Sluka's just filled in perfectly fine. I came away extremely impressed with them in week 1. Like last week, would they play Houston Tech or something like that, or
Utah Tech, I think.
Utah Tech, sorry. Put 70 on them, but yeah, I think this is more. Truthfully, I haven't been overly impressed with Kansas so far. We had high hopes for Daniel, coming back from injury, and they just, I don't know, just something seems off. They didn't look like, and that's maybe because the new OC there, what the Penn State OC has been pretty much with Leipold his whole career, and now he's not, and he's trying to replace that. Names forgetting, slipping my mind right now, and I apologize for that. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I really like UNLV getting a touchdown and a hook. Yeah, I definitely can see that happening.
Sweet. All right, take it away on the other Friday game for us.
Yeah, I'm going with Arizona and Kansas State over. Over 58 is the number I have.
There's a 57.5. That's what we're
even better. Even better. Kansas State's coming off a 34-27 win at Tulane. That game easily could have gone to overtime. If you watched it, you would have seen, Tulane got called for an offensive pass interference. I'm still trying to figure out how it was called. That would have tied the game with about 10 seconds left. So that total could have been even higher in that total. That game, Arizona 2 weeks ago, scored over 60 against New Mexico. I think they were just caught looking ahead last week. They didn't look the greatest against Northern Arizona, but still got the job done. But this is a stat I didn't realize, but I know they changed coaches, but the people are still the same in terms of players. 6 of the last 7, including last year's games for Arizona, have gone over this total. So I really like, some offensive fireworks in this one. I think it could be similar to the final score last week of like a 34-27. That feels about right. Arizona looked great offensively. I mean, granted, it was New Mexico, but the amount of weapons they have, especially at wide receiver. And Kansas State, equally very good offensively. The quarterback is very good there too. So, yeah, I think we get points here over 57.5. I would take it up to 60, truthfully, if you watch this later in the week. Really, really like the total in Manhattan.
Right there with you, buddy. I gave this exact play out at a lower number, so I'm with you on the read. I feel the same way about both of these teams. Kansas State just got outgained and allowed, excuse me, versus Tulane, 7.4 yards per play, 9 yards per play through the air against Tulane. Arizona is not Tulane. All due respect to Tulane, this is one of the better offenses in the country, with probably a first-round receiver on their team. So McMillan. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't think Arizona's defense is all that this year. That's why we labeled them an over team from basically week 0. You and I did. And I'm starting to feel the same way about Kansas State, which is kind of surprising given who their coach is and his defensive pedigree. But, I guess, he's still kind of getting similar defensive athletes that he was getting in the FCS. And he's not really getting elite, FBS defensive players. So that would make sense. I think there's going to be some mismatches on both sides of the ball for the offenses.
Just watching them a little bit last week, and I'm sure you can vouch for them, whatever. They look slow in the back 7. I think that's going to be an issue against Arizona, especially the linebackers just look slow. And I think that's that's going to be a problem. Coach Brennan's a hell of a coach. You know, he did a great job at San Jose State, now taking over at Arizona. Yeah, I think, you know, him being able to keep the quarterback, keep McMillan, when a lot of people thought they were going to leave and they didn't. Yeah, I'm really impressed with what Arizona did 2 weeks ago, and I can see this happening again this week.
Yeah, the Northern Arizona game last week, I think can just kind of be written off as a little bit of a letdown spot, you know, versus an FCS team. I think Arizona is the real deal on the offensive side of the ball. All right, we'll keep it moving because we got a lot of games to get to. But there's your first two official show picks of week 3.
I got another one.
Okay, what do we got?
Right in that noon hour there, Memphis.
Okay.
Tigers. I like them plus 6.5 on Saturday. Seth Hennigan threw over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns on the week 2 win over Northern Alabama. Mario Anderson ran over for 125 and 2 scores in a week 1 win over Troy. I just haven't liked the feel of this Florida State team. They look soft, and that's not good, especially against a team like Memphis who can really run the football. And we don't know what we're going to get from the quarterback position in that offense for Florida State. So you're going to give me about a touchdown. I'll take the 6.5 here. Memphis is another one of those teams you got to keep an eye out on this season that no one's really talking about, but I think can make some noise like they have in years past. So, yeah, I like Memphis plus 6.5. They definitely could be a live dog in this one.
Yeah, this is one. This is a team that, you know, a lot of guys, including yourself, that I know are real high on Memphis. And I get it. You know, they are really talented. They're spending a ton of money, like maybe more money than any other Group of 5 school is. I would lean Memphis with you too. The only thing, like, instinctually that I don't love is that I think the cat is out of the bag on Florida State. So, like, what's this line if this is week 0 or week 1? It's like 2 touchdowns, right? Or maybe 17. I mean, it's just such a bigger number. But I mean, you know, cat's out of the bag for everybody, for us and for the odds makers. So I do think Florida State is going to continue to struggle. And this is certainly a bigger game for Memphis than it is for Florida State. You know, even though Florida State's desperately needs a win, I'm probably there at 6.5 or 7 with you. So, and I think you can probably find some 7s since that's minus 102 on FanDuel. All right, we'll keep it rolling. Let's go. This game right here, North Texas and Texas State. I would lean North Texas at 9.5. I think this was closer to 12 yesterday. So obviously somebody sent out a big order on North Texas. But I still think they can probably hang. Just Abilene Christian scored 62 points in Lubbock on this Texas Tech defense. So I think they're probably going to continue to play like that defensively.
Yeah, I watched Tech last week against Washington State, and they just pitiful defensively. And the red zone offense was equally as worse. So it was not a fun watch for me.
Okay, what else we got here? You know what? This is kind of one that is the light bulb's kind of going off on on camera right now. Just, you know, this is not one that I had written down prior, but I was not overly impressed with. I know Miami of Ohio; they're the preseason favorite to win the MAC. They've only played one game, which was, you know, a close loss against Northwestern. I think that game was a lot more their speed because, you know, literally, I think it was more their speed because Northwestern is not the fastest football team in the world. And I think Miami of Ohio could somewhat match up and they stay competitive in that game. Obviously, they didn't win, but they stay competitive. Cincinnati totally blew it last week against Pitt. I mean, completely blew what should have been a comfortable win. And they're 2.5-point favorites. I mean, against a MAC, who I don't think Miami, Ohio is the best team in the MAC this year. I think they're a good MAC team. But I think Cincinnati potentially presents a lot more matchup issues for Miami of Ohio. I think this number for Cincinnati is potentially a little short. What do you think about this?
Yeah, it's also a revenge spot too for Cincinnati. Miami beat them down at world famous Nippert Stadium, as they call it down there, for the first time in years, a year ago, in overtime, a game where Cincinnati probably should have won. They had a field goal, like a 30-yard field goal, get blocked in regulation, and
yeah.
I think Miami's good. I just, as you said, I think Cincinnati poses a lot of trouble for them. They just stopped playing again. That I think that was the issue where, and this is no slight at Pitt, but like I feel like Cincinnati lost the game as much as Pitt won the game. And when you go super conservative and just stop doing what you've been doing, especially in the passing game, in the fourth quarter, like you're begging for issues. So still impressed with their quarterback. I thought they were the better team through 3 quarters last week against Pitt, and that fourth quarter just really screwed them. It cost them. So yeah, I think they win the game. I mean, the money line isn't crazy juiced right now, 135 on Caesars. I would just take that. Just don't worry about the spread at all. Almost made an official show pick, but I just held off a little bit on that one. Probably will be on the card on Saturday, though.
I mean, I'm in on that one if you are.
Let's do it.
All right, Cincinnati money line -135. That's an official show pick. We are moving and grooving. We've already.
I like Miami too, but this is a different Cincinnati team from a year ago. It's not Emory Jones at quarterback anymore, and yeah, if you watch any Emory Jones, Proph, you would be an upgrade from him. So
yeah, well, we're moving and grooving. We've already got 4 official show picks out, so good start to the show. All right, I'm
interested to see. This is not just much more of a feel. I'm just looking at it. How Illinois defends in Central Michigan. That's going to be interesting, especially coming off that big emotional win a week ago for the Illini. I thought Central looked pretty good through 2 weeks. I know they're 1-1, but they're taking a lot of the bets right now, a lot of the money, 89%, and I think there's a reason why. Illinois has classically struggled versus the MAC. Last year, only won by on a last-second field goal against Toledo. They've lost in years past against MAC teams. So Central Michigan plus the 20. I think that's a very good look on Saturday afternoon. I think the Chippewas are a very good offensive team, especially this season. Just giving some thoughts out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm glad you are, because I really don't have a take on this game. To be honest, I faded Illinois against Eastern Illinois, and that didn't work out a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, Illinois may be a little better than I thought they were, but I'm still not crowning them, or I'm not super sold on them.
This isn't the Juice Williams and Rashard Mendenhall, Illinois.
No,
just put that way.
No, this isn't even. Yeah.
Shout out to that Rose Bowl team.
All right, so solid lean there. I've got to dig into that one more. I don't really have anything of value to say about that one. Let's go here. This is an interesting one to me because I'm as high as anybody probably that I've talked to on Missouri. But Boston College is not a bad football team, and they are going to compete, and they're going to be physical, and they're it's just like it's not a bad football team, and they're getting 16.5. So I don't really know what to do with that one, and I just think it's an interesting line. I don't really have a real strong lean on it.
Yeah, it's I feel like the books are trying to have you take Boston College in this one, just based upon They're coming off of 2 wins. If last time we actually really saw them, it was against Florida State on Labor Day. I'm with you, man. I had Missouri making the playoff this year, so I'm equally as high on this. I love Cook. I love Dirkwitz, the coach. I think Borden's going to be a hell of a wide receiver in the pros. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Boston College can duplicate that defensive performance that they did against Florida State versus that Missouri offense. Because if they can, they'll be right there. If not, I think Missouri names their number on Saturday. Because truthfully, Boston College offense wasn't that great. I think it was just Florida State's defense was incredibly soft, and they were able to run the ball right down their throat throughout the game. And I just don't think that will happen against Mizzou.
Cool. All right, we'll keep scrolling. If you see anything, just stop me. If this coastal line gets under 17, potentially have some interest in coastal. I just think Temple is maybe the worst football team in the country. I think they're so bad. And coastal has looked strong. I like Washington. I like Washington State here getting 4.5 against Washington. That's a pretty simple one for me. Obviously, rivalry.
If I'm not mistaken, that game's being played at the Seahawks Stadium too, right?
Oh, there you go, neutral site game. So kind of an interesting one. Still,
the unofficial Apple Cup, or whatever. It's not for bragging rights in the conference anymore.
Yeah, it is at Lumen Field. Washington State, the offense has looked really good. Obviously dropped 70 on FCS team. Texas Tech last week, they beat them 37-16. And credit to the defense, because Texas Tech's offense is it's not a bad offense. So I would definitely lean that way. Although Washington's they haven't done anything wrong necessarily. I just don't think these teams are that far apart. But
my initial read on this game was the over. I got to think about it a lot more in order to put on the card on Saturday. I just haven't been crazy overly impressed with Washington's offense. I have been with Washington State's. Again, I watched them last week against Texas Tech. Now, my issue was it just because it's Texas Tech and how dreadful their defense is, or is Washington State and their, I guess, the Washington State version of Tim Tebow, pretty legit. If you watch that game, you'll know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I, again, lean the over. I was at 61 right now, 60-61.
It is 55.5.
55.5. Sorry, we're a different game I was thinking of. But yeah, with the number wise. But no, that was my read. Probably still going to do it, but we're going to have to think about it a lot more.
Cool. All right. Another rivalry game, Oregon State. You have anything for this one?
Yeah. I like the Beavers plus 16.5. I just think this is too many points. Beavers coming off a dominant 21-0 win over San Diego State in San Diego, where they rushed for 237 yards. We saw now, I know the drop off is a little bit there in terms of who's running the football, but that's what the Beavers want to do. Oregon gave up 221 last week against Boise. Oregon State's going to see that, and they're going to pound that pup all game long. Keep in mind also, last 2 trips to Corvallis, both were Oregon State wins. So we know how difficult it is to play there. Asked USC 2 years ago, they escaped with the win. Ask Oregon 2 years ago when Oregon State won. Ask Washington last year when Oregon State took them to the wire. I know it's a different coach, but I think the state is the same though in terms of that environment. Corvallis is going to be hopping on Saturday afternoon, and I think 16.5 is just way too many points.
Is that official?
Overly impressed also with Dylan Gabriel. I think it's going to come. I'm not. Hopefully, it doesn't come on Saturday, but just inaccurate on the deep balls. I mean, if it wasn't for a punt return, a kick return, Boise State probably wins that game. And I think 16.5 is way too many points in this one.
Is that official, Clee?
Yes.
Okay. So there's another one. Let me write that down. Oregon State 16. Where's 10? Okay. I will just say, I don't want to. Probably not willing to go head to head with you at this number, but if it gets to 14, I was probably looking the other way, just because I'm not really a believer in Oregon State this year. I watched their game week 1 against Idaho State, and I wasn't overly impressed. But I mean, this is a different game though, and this is you're not going to get the same performance out of Oregon State against Oregon is obviously against Idaho State. But all right, so official there. I think that is our 5th official, so we'll keep it going. Man, my gut. No, never mind. Nope, never mind.
I have a lean on Tulane at 14.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably there with you.
I'm not going to make it official, but it's definitely a lean though. Just haven't been overly impressed with what Oklahoma's been able to do offensively this year so far. Defense is still top notch. It's not going to shy away from that, but but no official for there.
I'm probably leaning that way at 14 or better. What's the total in this Nevada-Minnesota game? 43.5.
43.
Golly, that's disgusting. I don't even know why I'm looking at that game. It's going to be horrible. It's disgusting.
Troy and Iowa doing anything for you? Speaking of horrible games.
Honestly, probably lean Iowa.
Yeah.
Probably lean Iowa there. I don't think it gets to 21. So, anything 23 and a half or better, I'm probably leaning Iowa. The Iowa defense is still good. So, here's one I got to lean. Could end up being official for me. I like UTEP here, plus the 23.5 against Liberty. Liberty still has not woken up, basically. They haven't looked great. 41-24 against Campbell on their home field. And then they went and played New Mexico State, this is not the Diego Pavia, Coach Kill, New Mexico State. This is horrible New Mexico State, like not a good football team. And, they escape with the victory there. So
they're trailing the second half in that game too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said they had to score 21 points in the fourth quarter to win that game. So UTEP will be up for this one. Obviously, the game is at Liberty, so that's part of this line. But no, I think UTEP can hang because I don't believe in Liberty's defense. So I'm in this one for 23.5 pretty much. I might come back to that and make it an official show pick if I don't have any more. So
I was looking hard at that Ole Miss Wake Forest total.
What do we got here?
Look, Ole Miss offensively has looked phenomenal through 2 weeks. Now, granted, it was Furman and it was Middle Tennessee State, but they made Furman and Middle Tennessee State look like those teams. I'm just interested to see, 63.5 is a lot of points. You're going to have to get something from Wake Forest now. Wake did score 30 in week 1 against Virginia. If they can get me 17-20, I can see Ole Miss getting around 45. I mean, that's right around their team total as well. So I feel like something on Saturday from Ole Miss will be on the card. It'll be their team total or the total at 63.5. It's just I'm trying to convince myself of it, which way I want to go on that one.
Yeah, I'm not betting an over with Hank Bachmeier
Yeah.
at quarterback. Personally, I mean,
Yeah.
That's just me, and I think
That's my reservation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm yeah, pretty much. All right, we keep it going. Gut instinct here on this game is the MAC team is actually riding with Eastern Michigan. I think Jacksonville State has fallen off of a cliff.
Boy, have they ever.
I mean, I really think they have fallen off a cliff. They gave their best effort against Louisville, last week. I mean, I think that's is probably as good a game as they could have played. And that was a big game on their schedule. They had it circled, right? So, and now they got to go to the MAC, play in front of 3,500 fans at Eastern Michigan.
If that much.
Yeah. So,
just being truthful, I've been to Ypsilanti, and they had a band day when I was there, and there was more band members and fans in the stands. So, yeah,
it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. And Eastern Michigan just continues to overachieve. So
Coach Creighton's a good coach.
That's what
I
it
knows.
is.
Yeah,
so
it's just
I would
recycle every year and play on that great turf, and it's a weird environment, and yeah.
Yeah, so I would lean that way. What about you?
Yeah, that'd be the way I would go on it. Yeah, as I said, Coach Creighton's a great coach, and again, as you said, I was on Coastal week 1 against Jacksonville State, and they looked just so bad in that Thursday night game, and yeah, now it's a complete letdown spot from going to Louisville now up to Ypsilanti, and yeah, I think the Eagles can take that one. Not official for me, but that'll be the way I'll go.
Cool. All right, we keep it moving.
Interested to see how Texas responds here. This is a sleepy spot for them. UTSA will be up for that game. We know that. That's like their Super Bowl. 35.5 is a lot of points at Bet Rivers right now. And this could also be, I could easily see Texas, getting up by, 3 or 4 scores and just kind of shutting it down in the second half too. That's kind of how I could see it as well. So definitely lean with the Roadrunners on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a sleepy spot. All right, we'll keep it moving. Here's a game that I would have played if I could have caught the line, but by the time it hit offshore and even domestic, like and as far as domestic books that I have access to, out of state, it wasn't 3 or better. And I wanted 3 or better with Sam Houston State. I think they match up really well. I think Sam Houston State has taken a really big jump this year. If the money line ever gets back to like minus 160-ish, I'm probably going to bite the bullet and drink the juice on Sam Houston State. I like Hawaii situationally. I don't really like them away from the island. And I'll tell you what, it's going to Huntsville is just kind of a random trip for probably everybody on that Hawaii team. It's just in the middle of East Texas, and it's just, I think that's a good spot for Sam Houston State. So I would lean Sam Houston State at minus 4.5 or better. Really anything less than 6, that's still going to be my lean. And if that money line gets playable, I'm probably firing there. All right.
I have another official coming up here.
Okay, what do we got?
Georgia, Kentucky.
All right.
You'll find this shocking. I like the under. Yes, I'm giving out an under on this show.
Whoa.
4 of the last 5 between these two have gone under this total. Last 2 times they've played in Lexington, 16-6 Georgia, 14-3 Georgia. We know how dominant Georgia's defense is. We know how much they want to run the football. Look, that offense for Kentucky last week looked terrible against South Carolina. Now you have to face a better defense in Kentucky or in Georgia. I think that points are going to be hard to come by for the Wildcats on Saturday. So I think it's going to be one of those spots again for Georgia where they get in there, drain the clock, and get out and win the game, 21-6 or something in that nature. So wouldn't be shocked. Under 45, under 45 and a half, depending on where you have the number at. The under. Yes, I am giving out under. You know me, Prophet. I am not an under guy. I rarely give them out, but this is one I feel very strongly about. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I don't mind it. I think Kentucky's offense will struggle. Hopefully they don't give any points, to Georgia directly with, pick sixes or anything like that. But because they struggled last week, and I'm still trying to kind of make sense of that one. But I'm good. I'm good with this as far as a lean on the total. I would definitely lean under. So that's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 official show pick.
I have one last one. That's it.
Cool.
4 plus the one we're doing together.
Love it.
And if you know which one it is, you're looking right at it right now.
I think it's going to be the Colorado State game.
No, one below that one.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is it going to be the over?
Yes.
I freaking knew it.
Look, I know that the quarterback play isn't the greatest for Auburn, but this New Mexico defense could make Deshaun Watson look good right now. I can make that joke because I'm from Cleveland. First 2 games of the season, New Mexico, 66 points, 100 points. Gave up 567 yards in week 1, 627 in week 2. But as we've seen, and we saw that it's against Arizona and week 1 against Montana State, their offense can move the ball. Now, this is a little bit different, being in an SEC environment, but we're not asking for a lot here from them because I think they're going to be giving up a lot in this game. Quite frankly, Auburn can just run the ball every play, and I'm sure it'll be a chunk play majority of the time. Just that's how bad this New Mexico rush defense is. If you don't believe me, just watch the Montana State game tape. It's large holes and no one there tackling them. That's the best way to describe it. So yeah, I have 61. That's what I gave out. I just, we talked about it off air. This New Mexico defense is one of the worst ever in the country. Not ever, but in the country. And again, the quarterback isn't the greatest for Auburn, Peyton Thorne, the transfer from Michigan State, but I think this is a good get right spot for that offense. And 61 just seems very doable on Saturday night.
Yeah, I almost prefer team total for Auburn. Not that I have any issue with the over. I almost would, just because of how bad that New Mexico defense is. And I feel like, you might need 17, 20 points from New Mexico as far as a contribution, which, they're capable. They obviously they've got some players. That's the strength of their team. And they've scored a lot of points this year already. So I lean over on the total. And I don't have any issues with a team total either for Auburn, even though I got burned on it last week. But I think this isn't the Cal defense. So, all righty, we'll keep it moving here.
I'm really interested to see how Indiana looks. I've been very impressed with what Kirk Connetti's been able to do so far there in Indiana. Their offense is really, really good through 2 weeks. And truthfully, UCLA week 1 against Hawaii, we're lucky to get away out of the Big Island with a win. I thought Hawaii outplayed them a good majority of that game. Kurt Signetti, or is it Kurt Netty? I don't know. I pronounce the names terribly, but I'm interested to see how that goes. And then Tennessee first half team total. Again, this is not an official play or anything. They can name their number on Saturday against Kent State. Kent State just lost to St. Francis of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Interesting fact: St. Francis mascot the Red Flash. They're facing the Golden Flashes.
Oh wow!
Lightning bolts. In that game. Not that you care, but I watched a little bit of it as a fan of MacGen. Yeah, I look. Nico looks great in that offense. I meant to say that earlier. In my thoughts of week 2, he fits that offense so well, and it's going to be exciting to see how much he grows in the next. I guess it would be 2 years. This year, next year, I would think he'll probably go pro after next season. But yeah, it's not out yet, but or at least I couldn't find it. The first half team total for Tennessee, because I can see them shutting it down in the second half and just kind of, getting out of there. Reminds me a lot of last year when Akron went to Tennessee and Tennessee put up, like, I think 35 in the first half against the Zips. I can see them doing exactly the same thing. And that was with the worst quarterback in Milton. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The Kent State defense, the offense has gotten a little bit better, but not the defense. I would lean Baylor here. I would lean Baylor against Air Force. The Baylor defense has been really, really impressive. Obviously they lost last week to Utah, but they have the physicality and the speed to shut down Air Force, the triple option. This is not the Air Force team from the last couple of years. I think this is like a 35-3 type game for Baylor. This is one on their schedule that they need to have a performance like that. I don't love Baylor against Power 5 defenses, but Air Force is really down, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's down here for them. I watched a little bit of their game last week in San Jose State, and that was just not the Air Force of teams of years past. We'll put it that way.
Exactly.
Another team that's on my hate list, Maryland. How you doing?
Oh my gosh, they've been on my list basically since is it Loxley, the head coach?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, drives me nuts.
Great recruiter, terrible coach.
Great recruiter, just fantastic. He gets awesome players. They've had quietly like a top 5 receiving core, like 3 of the last 5 seasons, and can't do anything. Okie dokie. So
that's it for me. I can't think. Maybe lean Rice, honestly, against Houston, but that's.
Oh, man, I'm not.
They're taking money though too. If I like a more 5.5 than I like the 4.5.
I'm gonna go with. I'll give out Baylor. I'll give out Baylor 15.5 for a show pick, and then I gave out Eastern Michigan as a lean, but I'll give out Baylor. Where are they? Right there. Baylor minus the 15.5 as an official show pick for our last official show pick. And that's a lot of show picks this week. So that gives us,
for an unattractive card, I found it very attractive.
I love it. This is good.
Doesn't have the big time matchups on it, but there's a lot of good spots here, and I hope these we have another winning week, my friend.
Yeah, we're going for another winning week. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 official show picks. So hopefully a great week of results, and let's go. But yeah, so just one more reminder to make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Again, we'll have the very important NFL podcast tomorrow with Sosa.
Great show, by the way. I watched a little bit of it last week.
Appreciate it, Klee. Yeah, we're gonna hit on kind of the I will probably talk about the game that's going on right now, Monday Night Football. We'll talk about a couple other hot takes and buying and selling and all that good stuff, and then we'll get into more picks and then Wednesday MLS action returns this Saturday, so make sure you watch the MLS Live podcast on Wednesday with my guy Garrett at Jessup Footy. And yeah, we've got you covered for a couple different leagues, and that's pretty much it. Any closing remarks, Klee?
No, always happy to be on with you, Prophet. Make sure you guys check out the other shows as well. If you tuned in, make sure you like, subscribe, whole deal. And appreciate you guys tuning in.
We'll see you guys next week.